didn't slap you, they did.
So we're live, and I'm getting threats. So that's recorded, and
And I'm kind of a witness, but I might side with Kara. I don't know.
well, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to tell the story a little bit so that the audience can judge whether it would be valid or not for me to have to take that abuse.
Yeah. All right. So I'm checking things and making sure. I just got notification that we're live on YouTube. Let's see if we're live on Facebook. I didn't get my notification. Let me turn my volume down a little bit. Yes, let's see. Loud and clear. We got some comments. All right, good deal. So, why do I have no comments showing up in my comment thing?
I don't know. It must be YouTube folks. Well, no, it wouldn't be.
No?
It doesn't matter. I don't
Maybe
see any either.
maybe they'll catch up in a minute. I don't know. So this may be interesting if we can't monitor the commentary. Anyway.
Well, I say that we go ahead and let's get our pre-show thing out of the way, get it rolling, give time to folks to get in here. I mean, it seems like I don't know what it is. We did do a show last week, right?
Yeah, last week, and I think even the week before. I can't remember which week we did skip one week. That was around Christmas or something. So
I mean,
we got comments.
Yeah. Hey, but is it just me? Does it seem like 2023, the days are just all rolling together? I don't know. I mean,
definitely, absolutely rolling together. So no doubt about that. All right. Well, you want to go ahead and do instead of our normal chitter chatter? Let's see. We've actually been chitter chattering for about 2 minutes now. You want to go ahead and do our intro and all that and get that out of the way, and let's move right into it.
yeah, let's do that. And hey, folks, if y'all have any friends that like the show, care to listen to us banter about, by all means, text them, message them, or share our show out on Facebook like we always ask. We appreciate the free advertisement. We've never bought any advertisement. I mean, everything that shows up here, it's all just, because of you guys, organic.
People wandering in and, what did we stumble upon? Listen to these two guys.
Yeah, what the heck are they talking about? And then they're like, wow.
Going off in another universe somewhere. Let's see. Okay. So we got comments going both ways. Hello, Mr. David Crockett, Greg Bell. Glad to see you. Holly Cole. Glad to see your comment. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll do our intro and countdown and intro. We'll get that out of the way. We'll be back. We're at about 22, 23 people and slowly but steadily climbing. We actually have more to talk about than is really on our list up here on the screen. But it's going to be interesting. I want to hear about these term limits, so we're going to have to talk about that. All right.
Something tells me you're talking to the right guy.
Yeah. All right. We will be right back, folks. We're going to do our about 2.5, 3 minute countdown. Y'all know the drill. Make sure tag some folks, share it out. Do all that kind of good stuff. Text people. We're on Facebook and YouTube, so you can watch either way. We will be back in about 2.5 minutes.
They feel helpless. They don't feel heard. They have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
Cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this. So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by his Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting is an IWTP customized training provider with over 25 years of success to show for it. Call them for a free consultation today. Pelican Training and Consulting matches employers with 50-plus employees with training dollars. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
Well,
Unfortunately, I don't have popcorn.
Facebook may be, throttling us because we did mention, in that previous show, how to get censored by Facebook.
Oh, well, maybe
We talk about it.
Maybe we need to be careful of what we ask because we might receive it.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to know the trick and you want to try out Facebook jail, if you haven't been, we can tell you how to do it. And we know how to do it thanks to my wife.
I heard she's an expert at it. And she's
Oh,
giving lessons.
She is a professional. She's got it down pat. In fact, if you message her and you ask her, she will send you exactly what you need to post to get put in Facebook jail.
And be consistent about it. I mean, she's consistent like every time I talk to y'all. She's in Facebook jail again.
She's a pro. I mean, she should start charging for her service. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that she should. Okay. So what's on tap for tonight? I've got 3 bullet points up here with, term limits, the speed cameras, and then our good old friend Doug Rimmer and the Cypress district. We hadn't really talked about that in a little while, so I think we have a little bit to share with that. But I heard you had an interesting meeting last night or something to that effect.
Well, it depends if you're talking about, a business meeting that I attended and was a part of last night, or if you're talking about a meeting that I had, kind of out in the swamp. I don't know.
Well, it could be both. Let's do the one out in the swamp first. I think that'll be a little probably better.
An interesting thing, when you take someone on a hunt and you take them on a hunt in a swamp, you would think it would go without saying that, especially if you're hunting for deer, that this isn't a submarine operation.
I can see where this is headed. You mean the deer don't swim underwater like fishing? Are you saying y'all ended up on a fishing expedition?
Well, I mean, who knew that a rifle, for deer hunting could be converted into a, submarine, torpedo weapon? But it can. In fact, I have images of, but there's a telltale sign. So if you were a submarine hunter, this was what I can show you what you look for.
Well, let me get that prepped up and ready. Let's see. What do you have? You want me to put the picture up?
What? Yeah. I put another one in there actually.
Right,
there we go. We'll put the first one up.
All right. Is that going to be the resized one with the bubbles, or which one do you want?
I shared my screen. There you go. I already got it up.
Well, hold on. I'm not getting a screen share for some reason.
Oh, well, we're working the kinks out. I feel rusty. You feel rusty?
Yeah, it's one of those, and not our good friend Rusty either. It's one of those evenings. Okay, so you want the picture with the bubbles or which picture?
Yeah, the picture with the bubbles.
All right, let's draw in. Let me switch screens here, folks. Bear with us here for a minute.
So it goes without saying that when you take somebody deer hunting in a swamp, that you should always advise them that their rifle with a scope does not work underwater. And in fact,
that looks a little deep.
Well,
I was thinking y'all were out there waiting. I mean, because I've hunted deer in the swamps where you're literally wading in knee deep, because the deer, well, they're practically water creatures anyway. That looks like deep enough to swim in.
Well, I'll put it to you like this: it was over wader deep,
Hmm.
and the scope, summarily, you see those bubbles. That is the bubbles of the air escaping from the scope,
Ooh.
and so that hunt didn't exactly end very well.
Hmm.
The gun and scope was retrieved,
Mm-hmm.
and I will leave it to the imagination of our audience as to who decided to try the rifle out underwater. And
Well, they will shoot
I'm
underwater.
I'm arguably going to say failed at that exercise,
My Glock
but
shoots underwater. I can attest to
that's
that.
right. But there's 2 points. One, you always gotta look for the bright side, and there was a good picture that I was
Hmm.
able to capture, on this hunt that
Yeah.
was an
Well, let's
enjoyable moment. And
let's
some people,
switch
even if you
screens.
don't hunt and you don't appreciate hunting, I mean, I want you to
That's
look at
nice.
this picture right here.
Yeah, that's nice. So that
Now,
more than makes up for, well, almost makes up for dropping the rifle.
so yeah, you picture the moment. You take someone, they drop their scope, you have a horrible moment of trying to fish that rifle and scope out of the bottom of the swamp, and you pull off a little bit later and you sit back and relax for a couple of hours in this moment right here, enjoying, you know, what the good Lord gives us all to enjoy. And a lot of people don't get this opportunity. And, I thought how selfish of me to not share it. So I snapped this picture, and this was my hunt for the rest of the evening. And just being able to sit there and have that opportunity was, man, it was glorious. That's all I want to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe people get it, maybe they don't. I
Nah,
hope that picture, does it some justice. Yeah, that
yeah,
does it for me right there.
it does. Those of us that have been there and been able to enjoy those types of scenes know exactly what you're talking about. That sometimes it's not about killing something or whether you dropped your rifle or not. It's just being out there in that moment for just a few minutes.
Exactly. Exactly.
All
So,
right. Now that we've gone over what not to do with your rifle, which includes not dropping it in the swamp, what, what else shall we talk about tonight?
well, I hear rumor that there was a meeting in Bossier City today.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too. As a matter of fact, they posted a public notice about it, so they got that part of the meeting right. Uh-oh, looks like, oh, I see. Kara's on YouTube. That's how she's commenting. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Larry James Hawkins says, "Greetings, you two. Let's rock it tonight." We're gonna try Mr. Larry James Hawkins. Thank you for watching. Okay. So, yeah, there was a meeting today, and I think it was supposed to be about some red light cameras. Is that the meeting you're referring to?
It was. They had that, and I think all of the mainstream media was there. So, we didn't go. I didn't go. You didn't go. We
Nah,
we
I had to
actually
work.
wanted to go.
Yeah.
Now, there's been some interesting developments out of that Rex. I did get a little bit of a
Really?
report as to what took place. Of course, the regular actors that we would expect
Mm-hmm.
were engaged, and Chris Smith. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I heard. I don't know exactly what his questions were or what, but I understand that he had some zinger of questions that he put out there, and
Really?
it wasn't a good look for the red light camera people, for
Hmm.
Bossier City. But
Well, and let's ask our audience, anybody watching, we got about 40, 45, 46 people watching right now. Did any of y'all happen to attend the red light camera workshop that the Bossier City Council put on today? Were you there? And if you were there, was there anything that stood out to you about the red light cameras? Now, what was the company? Is it Blue Line Camera Systems or something? Is that
I
the
think it's
name of the
blue,
company?
yeah, Blue Line Solutions. And for on a side note, I understand that the guy or one of the guys pushing it. And I may have to do a little research because this come from someone that sent us some information, but the guy was supposedly a former employee, I think, with maybe the city of Shreveport or something or another, went to work for them, and there may even be some ethics questions in here regarding
Really?
him doing that and solicitate. I got to do some more research on that. I don't know, but we certainly already know that there has been some problems in Shreveport. I think in the
Right.
last show we highlighted that.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's meeting, I understand that Chris Smith had some really pointed questions that were revealing, but what was I'm told, I was given a quote, and I don't know if this is an accurate quote of the individual that got up and made the statement, but there was a person known in Bossier. I mean, a lot of people watching the show, you may not know him, but I think he's been around Bossier a long time. He got up and he made a statement and out of
Mm-hmm.
the audience, and business owner, longtime resident of Bossier. And here's what he said, Rex. He got up and he said, I'm very disappointed that there's only 4 people here at the council today. I want to go on the record and say this type of workshop affects the whole city and the whole parish. So shame on the missing council members and the mayor for not being here. I just want to go on record and make sure I said that. Ken Stevens.
Ah, well, I would tend to agree with that. I would be, I guess I am disappointed. And I guess also disappointed in the turnout. Now, we did have Ken Stevenson's in the comments now, and our good friend Mr. David Crockett is also in the comments. So it looks like they attended the meetings.
Well, I just want to say to Ken Stevens,
Mm-hmm.
hat tip to you, brother,
Yeah.
for getting up and speaking. Get folks showing up at these meetings and letting their opinion be known. You know, your opinion may be the minority opinion, but it's the fact that you stepped up to the plate and you spoke up and you said what you thought. We need more people doing that. There's not enough
Yeah.
people doing that. And, hat tip to you for doing it.
Yeah, I would agree, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, so I won't beleaguer on it too much tonight. But we've talked about participation. You and I try to attend a meeting or two if we can. I know you were at the Republican PEC meeting last night, of course. I don't attend that many of them, but part of our role is being able to take those meetings and what happens at them and summarize it and give our 2 cents every Tuesday night. So we're trying to do our little part, and we would encourage everybody, if possible, hey, you got to attend those meetings. When they get up there and it's crickets chirping, whether it's the city council or the police jury or the Cypress district or whoever it is, they can just, run roughshod over everybody.
Well, it's an interesting thing that you raise the police jury and evoke. You said their names. We have gotten some emails come in, and I got to tell you, I failed in my responsibilities today in putting a lot of notes together. I
That's
mean,
okay.
I have to acknowledge to our audience that I did a bad job of putting things together today. And part of the problem was, and I don't know what it is, Rex. I
Mm-hmm.
said to somebody else today, what is it about Tuesdays that everything seems to happen on Tuesdays? Because I could not get off the phone with people, reporting information about things that were going on. For example, someone was sending me information about, the Cyber Innovation Center, and
Really?
that the police jury on their agenda, the fact that they've got uh, an item on the agenda. I think it was to reduce the rental rate to the Cyber Innovation Center. I hadn't even been able to research it. Someone
Hmm.
else started sending me information in regards to uh, a or settlement of cases regarding issues with the DA and sheriff's office. Haven't had
Mm-hmm.
any time to even research it. In addition to phone calls about what obviously happened with the PEC meeting
Mm-hmm.
and issues resolving, I mean, around the red light cameras in Bossier
Right.
City. I mean,
It's
my
like
day.
everybody ganged up and said, "Hey, it's Tuesday. Let's pound Duke with information because we know he's got a show in a couple of hours."
I'm not complaining. I'm
Right.
not complaining at all. But it's just amazing that everything seems to happen on Tuesdays. I don't
Well,
understand that.
let me
Did
translate for those folks watching, and again, we appreciate all of you that are watching. We got over 50 folks watching across YouTube and Facebook right now. But let me give them the simple translation, the simple summary version. What that means is we are winging it tonight on minimal notes, so bear with us.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Rex, now folks love this thing. I want to ask you a question. And I
Okay.
want to ask all of y'all watching. Who do y'all think drives the most plush Tahoe in Bossier City?
Ooh. Now, I would have to say my knee jerk reaction would be, did Tommy get an upgrade? But that's just my knee jerk guess for now.
Well, y'all know I'm kind of sneaky,
Right.
and I mean, and well, we could go all day long on all the accusations that we've had against us, and some elected officials have even had some pretty snide comments regarding me. But I'm just wondering, who in Bossier City drives the most plush, or I don't know what's the modern term for, not woke, but
No,
the
not
modern
woke.
term for, yeah,
Not
what is
lit.
it?
That's what the kids say for other stuff being lit. So it's not lit. I guess what would be the term for that?
I don't know.
And
See, I'm
and
old.
more
I'm old school.
importantly, now you piqued my interest. So we want to hear some comments from folks who got a Tahoe upgrade or who is driving this. I don't know, more plush Tahoe.
Well, I mean, and the question is there a Tahoe that's more plush than Tommy Chandler's Tahoe that was approved by the council or not approved by the council? But
Oh, really?
it's my
Well,
understanding that there is someone driving a Tahoe, and it's not Tahoe Tommy.
oh, you're kidding me.
Tomo.
Now we did have a guest, Tommy's wife, so we've got that as a guess. But let's hear some more comments. And even more interesting is this particular Tahoe going to be a victim of the speed cameras?
Now,
Did we have any resolution at this point? I mean, I know they can't
well,
decide
I've
or
I've
vote
got
on
an even
anything, but
I've got an even better question than that. Does
mhm.
it have a city logo on it?
And that reminds me, did Tahoe Tommy actually put any identifying stickers on his Tahoe?
Well, word on the street tells me that there might be a backlog on getting logos printed by the garage to be put on. Maybe there's a shortage on, the logo material or something, but I'm hearing that there's a backlog on logo material.
Hmm. And I think your wife has it correct. Bougie. I've heard my kids say that, and they're in their 20s.
That's
Bougie.
right.
So
That's
yeah,
right. See, I
I
am
think she
not.
got it right.
What is that? Twick Talk or TikTok? I'm not on
Yeah.
TikTok. I'm old school. I'm 80s. Okay. I don't know. Bougie.
Yeah, bougie. And Thomas has got it pretty good. That's probably what I might say, tricked out or something like that. Okay, so we've got another guess. The city attorney is Holly Cole's actual guess. And Greg Bell says he's trying to figure out if plush equates to velour seats and shag carpet. Shag carpet,
Well,
baby.
I don't know if none of them are sporting spinners. I don't know if they qualify for bougie. Maybe they do, but I'm
Hmm.
not up on my modern terminology.
Right.
But what I will jump out there and say, Tommy is no longer Tahoe Tommy. The Joe Biden of Bossier is no longer the bougiest employee. Driver of a
Hmm.
vehicle in Bossier.
He,
He's not.
so you're saying he's a has-been on the Tahoe department? Hmm.
He is a has been. There is a new sheriff in town, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen anybody guess it yet. I know
Hmm.
who it is, and nobody in the comments has guessed it yet. So maybe we let that hang.
Well, yeah, we'll let that hang out there for a little bit and then we'll reveal it. So, circling back to the camera, I mean, did we have any other feedback or did anybody happen to report in? And again, we have at least a couple of people that were at the meeting. So, was there anything actually accomplished at this workshop? I know they weren't going to make any decisions, but did we actually learn anything or?
Not that I know of. From what I understand, Chris Smith's questions, he had obviously, and this is what I'll say, and I'll describe it in my words, is that, and I'm taking this based off of a report from someone who was in attendance, and they verbally told me, they said that he had questions, and he based those questions off of things that had transpired in Shreveport with the same system, and his questions were very pointed, and the answers were very telling. Um, and their opinion was that it was so telling that they didn't see how anybody in Bossier City could support moving forward with this. That
Hmm,
that was their opinion.
hmm.
Um,
Interesting. Now, does the city record? I guess they didn't stream it, of course, but does the city record any audio or video of this
well,
meeting?
Well, now that is an interesting thing because immediately upon the completion of that, I sent a public information request to, you know, I shamefully don't know her title,
Phyllis,
Miss Phyllis. Yeah, Miss
city
Phyllis,
city clerk.
city clerk. I sent a public information to Miss Phyllis. And Miss Phyllis, interestingly, responded back to us and said that she was advised that she can't release anything without it going through the mayor and city attorney's office.
Okay.
Now, I respect that response from her, but here's the thing: isn't the city council separate and apart from the mayor? I mean, how is it that the mayor and the city attorney are dictating what the city council can and cannot release to the public?
Well, that's a good question, and I know the answer to it, although I'm probably not going to say it absolutely correctly. By the open meetings law, there has to be a designee, designee for the records, and that's probably not
Right.
what the actual statute says. But anyway, and uh, we've been told that that would be the city attorney.
But
So
this
that's
was a
that.
public proceeding. I mean, it wasn't any emails, documents, or anything. I mean, it was
Right.
public. I
Yeah.
mean, it's likely
Well,
there's nothing to be hid.
here's what I found more interesting, and so I'll go ahead and kind of reveal the response. As a matter of fact, give me a second. I mean, this is all public records. Let me share this out. Hold on a second. Let me see if this will do it. Yeah. You can see the response says you have to go through the mayor's office, and this is from Phyllis. Again, non-encrypted email or anything, so it's public record. You have to go through the mayor's office for all the public information requests. I was chastised last time for providing it. I can tell you, I can't mail it. It's a CD. The company that handles our digital recording only allows it to be transferred that way. I'll go ahead and make a copy and uh, give it to them as soon as they request it. So that's what I find more interesting about this is that they only will send a CD of it. That's about as dumb and inefficient as a box of rocks.
Yeah, maybe so. I will say, in my humble opinion, Phyllis is trying to do a good job down there, and she has
Yeah,
placed
we
upon
appreciate.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate Phyllis's efforts.
So I think that is a form of censorship, if you want to know the truth,
Yeah,
and
not
I
not
don't
on the part
appreciate.
of not on the part of Phyllis, on the part of the policy itself and the way that they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on that note, I want to point out, now we discussed this last show and we put out a call to folks to help us in regards to public information requests.
Mm-hmm.
And Rex, I want to report, and I know that um, we got a pretty good response from a lot of folks. And
Yes, we
while
did.
we haven't responded back to any of you, and for those of you watching now, we put a request in that to people that if they wanted to participate in requesting public information requests, um, that they email us, that we have things that we want to request and that we have already requested, have gotten no response, and we wanted to start building a case. A lot of folks said, "Hey, I'll do that," and they've emailed us, said, "Hey, send me how to do it and what to do, and I'll do it." We haven't
Mm,
started sending those out yet. There's been a lot going on,
right.
and you'll know by the end of the show what all's been going on. But thank you to all of you that stepped up to the plate.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
appreciate it.
look, we appreciate it. We're going to send you a request, and we're going to tell you what to do. It's coming. So
Yeah.
just hang tight. It's coming.
All right, so I want to scroll back up here. Let's see. Holly Cole said they didn't record the redistricting meetings either. I asked her, the city clerk, specifically if they would be available, and she was very evasive. Now, I got to say, legally, they're not required to record the meetings at all. They only have to record the minutes of the meetings, and the minutes, honestly, don't have to be all that detailed. So, you know, we're used to the city streaming and the police jury doing their half-ass version of streaming that's terrible. At least the city gets it mostly right.
That's
But they
right.
don't. They actually don't have to do that legally. Legally, they only have to provide the minutes. Maybe we need to get on some representatives. We need to get some
No,
legislation pushed through Baton Rouge to change
I
that.
I would totally agree with that because look, the police jury, the business doesn't happen at the regular police jury meeting. The
Right.
business happens at the committee meetings. And that's why they do it that way, is
Mm-hmm.
because they don't televise it and they don't put it out there. Nobody's kind of watching. And then all they do is they send it to the regular meeting and then they just basically rubber stamp it.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Bossier City, I would argue that, you know, the elders of Bossier City in their wisdom, I'm giving credit to the elders of the whoever wrote the chart, and I don't know who they are. I don't, but hey, hat tip to them. They put a provision in the city charter of Bossier City to give you the voters or quote unquote the electors of Bossier City. They gave you an ability and some power to affect change, and that is by getting your signatures and getting something on a referendum to change the charter, because that kind of segues into what happened at the PEC meeting, and would I don't think we're ready to completely go into there, but
Well, we're pretty
you know,
close to it.
yeah, we're close to it. Um, you you guys, we need to get this information out there. I mean, you
Right.
may not watch all of these meetings, but you may have tomorrow to go watch it. And what if the police jury published all of those committee meetings? What if they
Yeah.
recorded them and you were able to hear actually the deliberations and what made those people vote and make the decision to, go the direction that they did? Or, and let me put it another way, to spend your tax dollars the way they chose to spend your tax dollars. I mean,
Right. Think. Well,
don't you want
think.
to know the why?
Think about it this way, and we've mentioned this before, and folks, if y'all have ever been to any of these meetings, I'm sure you've seen this or watched when we play them back. Uh, they'll get in the actual meeting, they'll bring an item up on the agenda, there will be zero discussion on it, and they'll just vote, and they all vote lock, stock, and barrel. Well, it's not like they're sitting there knowing how to do ESP and doing a mind meld with each other. It's because they've already discussed this in the committee meetings, and it's the dog and pony show at the actual meeting.
I understand, and there may be a few folks on the show that are watching that were in attendance. I understand there was a question in regards to the tickets, and if there was someone that wanted to contest the tickets, and Blue Line Solutions responded to the effect that if someone had a problem with the ticket or they contested it, they could call on the mayor or the city council, and that they could get the ticket removed for them. So now think about that, guys.
Okay, that
Think
sounds
about
like
that.
fun.
So who? I mean, what I'm wondering, how much do I have to support Tommy Chandler to get him to
Yep.
pull a ticket for me?
I can see right where that's headed, and not
Hmm.
not that Tahoe Tommy would do anything like that, but there's just the potential for it. That's interesting.
Yeah. So nonetheless, we after Phyllis was unable to fulfill our request, we reformulated that request and we sent it to uh, Tommy Chandler and Charles Jacobs. Which, I mean, I wish we would have been able to get it for you guys tonight, but we will have to wait, and maybe the city attorney will respond to us. Maybe he won't. I mean, we have public information requests sitting there from, the 1st of December, maybe even November, that he's not even responded to. And there's
I
no,
don't think he likes you anymore, Duke.
he may not, but the bottom line is for some reason, government feels emboldened that, you know what, piss on all of you people out there. We don't have to respond to you.
Well, look,
Screw you. We don't care
here's
what you want to know about. We could care less. I mean,
here's a thought for our city councilman, because we know you watch the show, the vast majority of you do. Here's a thought. You should stream the workshops. It literally costs you no money. It doesn't, because the IT guys that are doing it are on salary anyway, or getting paid by the hour, and they're going to work they're going to work during that time anyway. So it doesn't cost you any resources. You already have the equipment to do it. You can do it on an iPhone, for that matter. And the other thing is, it doesn't cost you anything literally to stream to YouTube. I mean, it costs us money because we're using specialized software to do cross-platform and all these graphics that we do. The city council doesn't do any of that. They can just stream directly to YouTube. It literally can cost the city
Rex,
nothing.
Rex, you're the tech. You're the tech guy. Worst case, how much money are we talking about here to stream it across all the platforms? What would it cost them to do that? To
Well,
enable to be able to do that?
$25 a month. And okay,
What?
and let's give them some time to train somebody. So let's even throw in a little overtime. So a couple of $100 up front, 20 something to $50 a month, maybe, depending on how they wanted to do it at the most, and they could stream across all platforms.
I tell you what, I'm going to take that question mark off the table to the city of Bossier. If it's, I mean, whatever, if it takes $25 a month, I'll donate that $25 a month to cover the expense of broadcasting those meetings.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It is
I'll
literally
do that.
it's literally a commodity item now to be able to stream.
But
If
here's
you
the
want to.
thing. You know what? They're not the only ones. The
Oh
police
no, the
jury.
police jury is worse. Look, the city council. I mean, their audio is a little low, but it's audible, and you can hear it, and you can understand them, and I can easily take it and boost it if I want to make some cool videos with it. The police jury is just outright sucks, and the police jury had actually improved it at one point, because I'd actually complained in some comments, and some other folks did. But the problem was, then they got caught with hot mics. I forget who it was. Rimmer. I forget who it was, said a couple things, and they didn't realize the mics were still hot, and so then the audio sucked again. So I don't know. The police jury hasn't had our attention in a while, and it needs to have our attention again.
Needs to have our attention bad.
Yeah.
I shared to you. And I mean, here's the sad thing. Here's the sad thing. We're talking about and discussing, you know, openness and transparency. And I shared to you this morning a post that someone made in the old Green Acres Place thing, and heads up to neighbors, talking
Mm-hmm.
about how sewer was backing up in all of their houses, you know, in old Green Acres Place.
Yeah.
And so I'll bet you money. I mean, we're paying an engineering firm to set their own rates, pick and choose what they want to bill for, I mean, it's open season for an engineering company in Bossier for all of the water and sewer and all this public-private partnership that's so great, but yet somehow or another, we got sewer backing up in people's houses in Ogre and Acres Place, and they're having to pay plumbers to come out, and it's the city's fault.
Yeah, I saw that text that you had, and it was a screen, like you said, it was a screenshot of a post. And did we get any now? I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Now, yeah, and I gotta admit something as well too.
Okay, so one, we need to make sure and get confirmation from the city. I'm putting that in quotes. That this has actually been a problem. That has actually been a problem for that long, and that way we can make sure that what we're reporting isn't just somebody that's really pissed off, that they need to have a legitimate reason, not just a sewer main broke and the city hadn't had a chance to get out there and get to it yet.
Yeah, now I will admit, this morning, when we had that sent to us, I got in a truck and I started riding around Old Green Acres Place, and I only saw one city vehicle riding around within Old Green Acres Place, and I didn't see anyone anywhere out there doing any maintenance. I didn't see it.
Well, that's not good, especially if it's been going on that long, and if people are forking out money that they don't need to. Not to mention, the health hazards and all that stuff that goes along with it.
I may have missed it, but I haven't seen any report from anyone within the city of Bossier. I mean, granted, we do now have a new, public information officer making God knows how much money. I mean, and hell, she may be driving a Lamborghini at this point. Who knows?
Right.
Hint, hint. I still hadn't seen anybody talking about a Tahoe anymore. Where are y'all at? Are y'all all asleep?
Are we all guessed out? No more guesses on who's got the new Tahoe? I mean, we're up to 60 people now, and we appreciate everybody watching.
Now,
hey,
Ruth
did you see her question?
I
Where
did.
She asked,
I did.
Duke, did you find out whose idea those cameras were? And I forgot to look on the agenda to see who sponsored that agenda item, who signed off on it. That would give us a little bit of a clue.
Ruth, and I have to give you my apologies. I was so covered up with a lot of other things transpiring that I did not get to research and push on that issue today and squeeze people for an answer. I have my guess as to where and why, but I can't completely, I can't put the, on the donkey. I can't do it yet.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and we'll reveal who the new upgraded Tahoe went to, and then let's move into this term limits situation, which will eventually lead into our good friend tax hike guy Doug Rimmer and the Cypress district. So I mean, my interest is really piqued. Who got the new Tahoe, or the newer Tahoe, as the case may be?
Well, maybe, okay. I know folks are gonna be like, is he off his rocker or something wrong with him? So while we're doing the show, y'all may not believe this, but people are like sending me messages and sending me information and I'm trying to multitask here. I'm sorry, I am a human. I'm just like you. I can only do so many things at one time. But somebody's sending me a picture right now of their street and sinkholes adjoining sewer mains that, from my observation, I'm sitting here looking at the picture. I got to share this, Rex. I got to put this.
Either share your screen or drop it in the folder.
Well, I tried to. Our technology is failing on us because I've been trying to share my screen all evening. But literally, this looks like a sinkhole in Bossier that a kid could fall in, even on their bicycle, and disappear.
Well, drop it in the folder over there, and I'll drag it in. Just let me know when you got it over there.
Okay, stand by, stand by. It's coming. It's a coming.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
Yeah. All right. I am failing here as a. Talk about something while I'm trying to accomplish this.
All
I
right,
am
so
weak.
but I've got to know who is the new Tahoe person. This is killing me.
Um. It won't let me copy and paste. Okay. I just got to stop. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I know this is not entertaining, but maybe it is entertaining watching me sit here and fail trying to
So
do
you
this
can
technical
so
task.
you can
So
retrieve a submarine rifle while
I can do that.
simultaneously
Yeah.
kicking back and taking a cool panoramic shot. But
That's right.
anyway,
That's right. Okay. Ashley Bullock says the fire chief. Okay, Ashley, I'll respond to that. You are wrong. While Ashley Bullock is correct that, I mean, close but no cigar. Good guess, Ashley Bullock. While I do have an image of the fire chief with his brand new Tahoe, his is not the luxury version Tahoe, a new Tahoe nonetheless.
well, and look, I can see the fire chief getting a Tahoe every so often. I mean,
Well, why is
fire
that?
chiefs do things like go to fires, don't they?
Well, why is that? Why does the fire chief need, some new fancy whatever? He's the administrative officer
Well,
of
I
the
guess he
of
doesn't. I
the
mean, there's not that many fires, so he wouldn't put that many miles. Maybe he should drive an older Tahoe.
Okay, after I say this, Tommy's going to get out there and clean all this up. But I challenge any of you to go driving through the parking lot of City Hall and tell me how many of the old city vehicles you see sitting out there, the old Crown Vics, cars, trucks, whatever, sitting out there, and you're telling me that they're unable to be able to drive one of those?
Well,
What's wrong with them?
of
It,
course not.
I mean,
How
why?
how long are
Why
that?
is it?
How long are they allowed to? I'm no accountant or CPA, but how long are they allowed to amortize those out?
Well, I don't know, but what I am telling you is that the truck I drive is a 2000 F350 with over 300,000, almost 400,000 miles. You know what? I bought it brand new and I make it last. Governments need to do the same. Now, there's an argument to be made that we don't need to be living on the edge like that or what have you. But don't you have a staff of mechanics? Can't you, not burden the taxpayers with having to, afford you with a new vehicle every other year? I mean, come on, give me a break. I
Well,
mean,
like I said, my knee jerk reaction would be, the fire chief. But then when I think about it, I mean, how many miles are they really going to put on a vehicle going to
you,
fires? There's not
you know,
that many fires in Bossier.
let me
Or
let
am
me
I
give you
wrong?
let me give you another example. And maybe I'm just so old school and I'm wrong for this. Oh, okay. So a lot of you know that I've got a company and we work in the oil field, right? And I
Hmm.
go out and I work with my guys. And I drive a truck. I have a CDL, I have a hazmat endorsement. I do those things. My truck that I go out and drive and I put the majority of the miles on that truck. Rex, do you know how many miles that truck has on it?
I couldn't even fathom a guess.
1.6 million miles.
Literally around the world a few times.
Okay. Now, I want you to think about that. It is a 1994 Peterbilt. 1994. And I go out there, I make it work. And I can get
Hmm.
the job done. In fact, I can run circles around all these guys with all this brand new crap. And I will tell you, give the fire chief his freaking new Tahoe, put me in a comparable situation, and I'll take something old and I'll run circles around him too.
Hey, our good friend Ryan Haygood brings up a good point. Until our water doesn't smell like sewer, these people need to drive the old stuff. That's a good point. Fair point.
Well, we have lost track of things, and we need to get back on track. And
Right. I want to
my
know who the Tahoe? Who got the upgraded Tahoe? I mean,
Okay,
we
is
can sit,
everybody
we
ready?
can,
Is every
we can sit there
I'm
and
beat.
debate all night that they should drive the old stuff and all that. When they're dealing with OPM, other people's money, they don't care. So who got the upgraded Tahoe? It's killing me.
All right. Is everybody ready to know? Are you tired of the suspense? I know you are, Rex, but I ain't paying attention. I'm paying to the people watching the show, not you. Do y'all want to know or do you not want to know? Because I've seen nobody guess who has the nicest Tahoe in Bossier City because Tommy Chandler has taken a back seat to it.
I want to know. Drum roll, please. Let's see. I still don't have us a drum roll, but I've got some applause.
Well, okay. We've got to come up with, and this is another challenge to, I know the suspense is killing everybody and they're like mad. They're probably throwing crap at their TV saying, will he just spit it out there and say it already? Okay. But you got to help us because I got to tell you, this is mighty boring. The name that I'm going to say, and we gave King David, now known as Queen David, we gave him his title, Tahoe Tommy, the Joe Biden of Bossier. We gave him the Three Amigos. We coined all those names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we've got to coin a good name here, but I got to tell you, I'm having some trouble here coining a name. But
I may have. I may have a name for you because
okay,
I have a
no,
suspicion of who it is, so I may have a title. I'm not putting it up there yet. You got to spit
gave
it out.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it away. So, Tahoe Amanda.
Oh, the Tahoe Princess. CAO Amanda
there it
Nottingham. See
there
Shane. See our good friend Shane Cheatham, former amigo. You missed out on a new Tahoe.
The Tahoe
plush,
Princess.
luscious Tahoe.
The Tahoe Princess. How about that? I like that. What do
That
y'all
was
think?
That was pretty good on the fly, wasn't it?
I mean, we like Amanda, but
yeah, nothing against Amanda, but she's in the firing line.
Be nice, wife, because I like Amanda, but my wife said Amanda in Wonderland.
She has the school teacher charm, but she, my past dealings with her when she worked with Dodie Horton over there, Amanda is a very nice girl, and she's on point with most things. So, I'll give her that.
Well, here's what I want to say. What I want to say is you know what? I don't blame Amanda. In fact,
yeah, I don't.
I think, you know what? She should get a Tahoe to hang in there to put up with the crap from the Tommy Chandler administration. I mean,
Right.
because the truth of the matter is it's probably going to be over here at the next election.
Might very well be.
I mean, she needs to get what she can get. Smart on her part.
Yeah. And well, we'll see how the electorate is. I would challenge everybody watching this show that you need to make sure and educate a friend and educate a neighbor on some of the shenanigans that go on, or else Tahoe Tommy and the Tahoe Princess are going to be back in office again. He'll be elected to 2 terms if something's not done. And besides that, we've got to have somebody else that's willing to step up and into the position. Now, we've got future Mayor Jeremy Gallman that might do it. We've heard, rumors that maybe Lisa Friday Johnson would want to come in on the deal and run for mayor. But, that remains to be seen. So never doubt the apathy and ignorance of the general voting public. Not our watchers, but the general voting public.
Okay,
right.
Stand by. Maybe. Nope. No, I'm still trying to get this.
I don't know why it's not letting me share. It should. I mean,
Oh.
I did update it this afternoon. We stay on the bleeding edge beta version. All right, I got a picture in.
Yep, there it is. Got it.
All right. Shall I share that out? Yes. Okay, hold on. Let's switch screens. Let's see.
Okay,
Screenshots.
so I had someone message me and say, and I'm reading into this. Okay, we got multiple things going here, guys. I had someone message me, someone that I love to death. I think they're a great person, and I'm reading their text, and I think they're defending her. I'm not sure, but they said she has been driving an old Taurus.
Hmm.
I'm so I feel so bad for her.
I
Not
mean, as in the lining on the roof of it's falling in, and it's got cigarette burns in the seats, kind of old Taurus, or
that
what kind of old Taurus are we
Well,
talking?
that's horrible that somebody has to endure a vehicle that gets you from point A to point B that maybe has a stain on the carpet. That is horrible. Who could endure such a thing? We should
Hmm.
not have to nobody should have to endure that, right?
All right, so we're getting in some reports. I just got some Proton mail in. I'm trying to kind of skim through this real quick. With hidden. Okay, so
Okay. Let me correct something here. The person that messaged me said, not defending her, just letting you know. I appreciate that. I love you to death. I appreciate that.
all right.
I'm just saying, look, oh, why is it we got to have $80,000 Tahoes? What's the deal? Why can these people not drive a damn pickup truck just to get them from the house to the office? Now I can tell you, we still haven't heard anybody deny the claims that we made in a previous show about people who are not city employees driving city vehicles around town with city administration personnel. I mean, have you heard anything, Rex? I haven't heard anything.
I
We
hadn't
made
really
that.
heard anything either.
I
Let's
mean,
see. I'm trying to get this screenshot ready. I think I'm going to go ahead and share this out. This would be interesting, and I don't know how useful it would actually be, but let me get this thing ready. So ad lib for me for a minute. All right, let's see here. All right, so first of all, what is this picture here that we're showing?
well, apparently, this is on a street in Bossier where there is a sinkhole that repeatedly uh, forms and has
Mm-hmm.
to be repaired um, frequently. As the person that sent it said, 3 or 4 times a year. Why is that when we've got this public-private partnership with a high-powered engineering firm that specializes in water and sewer stuff? How is it that this problem within someone's neighborhood continues to keep happening? How is that? I
Well, they
mean,
don't specialize in sinkholes, apparently.
I'm thinking that if they dispatched a brand new Tahoe with lights, and they spent no less than 80,000 on that Tahoe to this location as an emergency, I suspect this could probably get fixed right the first time.
Well,
It's
maybe.
a
So, do we happen to know what subdivision this is in? Ruth Pope
we do
Johnson is asking.
we do not at this moment. No.
Okay. So, yeah, we're just sent the picture, but not the location, and they may not want to share it yet. All right.
I gotta tell you, the way that looks, it looks like it's kind of one of those subdivisions, maybe north of Bossier. There, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. All right. So let me prep up this other deal. So we just got this Proton mail in. Let me publish this. So I know nothing about this black Tahoe, but here we go. It says the black Tahoe is driven by the pastor of Cypress Baptist Church, who is the Bossier City Fire Department chaplain. The black Tahoe was purchased out of the fire department budget. He drives it everywhere. Does anybody know anything about this?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I
You're
mean, this is
telling
just
me
not in the notes, just came in. You can see the time, 7:43. So I'm just throwing it out there.
I got to bite my tongue here. So you're telling me that the Bossier City Fire Department, we're now buying Tahoes for chaplains um, in Bossier City, in addition to how many Tahoes for doctors in Bossier? And, I know that the fire chief's got him a brand new Tahoe. Just how many Tahoes is the fire department, and how many accounts is the fire department have, and how much money is flowing through there? I
Look,
was a fireman. You know what? Some of my brothers at the fire department may take offense to me asking a few questions here, but on the flip side of that, I want you guys to put yourself in my shoes. What would I be if I didn't um, ask the question and hold our department, our brotherhood, accountable to the public?
yeah, I mean,
What are we doing down there?
I don't know. Ryan Haygood says, I don't believe this email. And I have no confirmation of this, to be fair, Ryan. This literally came in by Proton Mail, and we know how that can go sometimes. But we do need to find out. And look, I don't know. Part of me says that, that's okay. But the other part says, well, can't they just reimburse the fire department chaplain for mileage or something? I don't know. I mean, a very good friend of mine is one of the Shreveport Police Department chaplains, and they don't get Tahoes. And that's on the other side of the river. And I would argue on that side of the river, those chaplains are much busier than they are on this side of the river.
Well, if we thought we could send a public information request to actually get the information, that would be one thing. But it is obvious that the current administration of Bossier City has taken the tack that they, for some reason, don't have to respond to public information requests. They don't have to acknowledge them. They don't have to send you the answers. They'll just, make, fluff. So, I guess we're
Well,
going to have to recruit the army and start building the case. And, we'll end up down the road having to come back on the officials in Bossier that took the tack of we don't have to respond, and they'll have accountability down the road.
yeah, and I just want to say nothing against Cypress Baptist, but Ruth Pope Johnson brings up a great quote. She says, hell, we are buying Tahoes for everyone. She feels like Oprah. You get a Tahoe, you get a Tahoe, you get a Tahoe. Just Tahoes everywhere. And got another Proton Mail, again, not confirmed, from the same source, same sending Proton Mail address. Says the lights for that black Tahoe, the hidden lights, were purchased from the fire department budget for him as his role as fire department chaplain. Now, it makes sense that if they're going to buy him a Tahoe, they need to put some kind of light package on it. I mean, that honestly makes sense, but we need to confirm that, see if it's true or not. And nothing against Cypress Baptist, really. Nothing necessarily against the chaplain having one, but I don't know. When's the last time the city bought you a new Tahoe?
That, this discussion is, it's bringing to mind memories of events when I was a fireman. And, there was a place for the chaplain. I mean, it was there, and I think there's even a chaplain for the police department and a chaplain for the fire department now. I mean, which is weird to me, but okay, maybe they want their own or what have you. But when a chaplain responds, it's one, if and I'm reflecting back on my memory and my experience as a fireman and a paramedic down there. And when you went to a home and there was some tragic event, maybe the family didn't have someone, to help them on things like that, the chaplain would respond and would, counsel the family and
Right.
give advice, and which is a invaluable asset.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
Right. I agree.
Do they need emergency lights to respond as if it's a life-threatening emergency, like an ambulance going to the hospital with a patient in dire need of medical care? No, I don't think so.
That's a good point.
And as a fireman who arguably, and you know, to the firemen and watching that would say, I mean, I would contend that as a fireman, I experienced with my crew, and you guys who were a part of it know what I'm talking about, experienced one of the most traumatic events that a public servant would require or want or need a um, chaplain, you know, took place in South Bossier, in a uh, murder suicide by cop event. And, you know, even in that situation, I don't know that there was a need for a chaplain to have emergency lights to respond. I don't see the justification of that. That event, I can't conceive an event that was more uh, tragic and stressful than that event. I don't see it. So anything more than that, this is a stretch to me.
Yeah.
Um, and if anybody wants to challenge me on that, fine. Call me personally and we can have that debate. I don't see it. Justify it to me. And
All right.
and I'm calling BS on it, and I don't think this is justified.
Yeah, AJ Mandy Foy says, couldn't some of our local pastors do this at no cost? Like I said, my 2 cents for what it's worth on this subject is I don't have a problem with at least, paying the responding chaplain or pastor, mileage or reimbursing for fuel or something like that. I just don't know about a brand new Tahoe to do it. I don't know. And look, our good friend, let's see, let me find the comment. Barry Butler says, why aren't they driving Chevy Volts?
Well, they've got a damn parking lot full of vehicles that nobody's occupying.
Right. Why aren't they driving those?
I mean, why do they have to be these expensive? And somebody's going to jump up
It's
there.
got to be an accounting thing.
Somebody's going to jump up there and say, "Oh, but we get such a good discount, and we got to rotate these things out, or what have you." I mean, and they're putting light. It goes back to the mayor and the CAO. Tahoe Amanda. Why does she need emergency response lighting? Why
Right.
does she need that? I remember the flood by your house, Rex, and Low Walker showing up. Low Walker's gone now. We can talk about instance with that. It's not, oh, hell, not that we don't talk about everything anyway. I can remember the flood by your house. I mean, I don't remember 2 or 3 days straight down there hauling sandbags up and down your levee down there. Low Walker shows up. There was only a handful of firemen, about 8. Buddy Caskey was actually one. He showed up. He was an administrative assistant, to his credit. He showed up. He spent the days with us down there. The rest of them were probationary firemen. I was one of them. I wasn't a probationary. I was just one of the firemen that were there. But the mayor shows up about 4 a.m. in the morning because we requested. He didn't need lights. He didn't need emergency stuff, but he shows up and he's like, y'all doing a good job. Keep up the good work, and turns around and leaves. We were losing the battle. Water was coming over the levees. A phone call was made to the Air Force Base. And that phone call said, we need help. A lot of your airmen that live in your subdivision, Rex, all out there, carriage oaks and all that, their houses are going to flood if we don't have help. And within an hour, busloads of airmen started showing up out there at the location, and then trucks with trailers of equipment started showing up to help us with a sandbag operation. The freaking mayor
The mayor didn't even bring y'all donuts or coffee?
he went back home to go to bed.
No breakfast? No nothing?
There was one councilman that was standing there in that conversation, and his name was Tim Larkin, and hat tip to him, he was shaking his head in disbelief because he didn't agree. He was shaking his head. He
Wow.
realized how asinine it was. But the
Yeah.
point was a who a mayor doesn't need emergency lights, and even if they had them, they showed up and they make a decision about good job, you're doing a good job, and they turn around and go to the house. No, bull crap. It's your
Mhm.
instant commanders and the people on the scene that make the decisions and know what's going on. And if you're just going to ignore them, I mean, a mayor doesn't know. You think you telling me that Tommy Chandler would know what decisions needed to be made on a scene like that? No, he wouldn't.
Don't make me comment to that. I'm trying to be relatively nice for the moment.
I mean, and look, I like Amanda. Amanda's got no business making any decisions. She doesn't need emergency lights to come to a scene like that to try to make any decision. I don't know. You're taking me down memory lane, and I'm talking about things that happened.
Okay.
I gotta take a breath.
Yeah, so with all that said, enough about Tahoes. It does nothing but obviously piss most of us off. Brand new Tahoes, anyway, because, well, we just may as well have a Bossier City car dealership. All right.
Jeff Sadow's comment in the articles. He's talking about are they flex? Are they CNG only or what? Because we do have CNG facilities.
Yeah,
I'll bet you not.
Barry Butler says to comply with federal EPA regulations, the city built 2 CNG E85 stations. The city bought CNG vehicles at huge cost. Now people are wanting to ban gas stoves. Interesting. All right. So moving on.
Okay, I got somebody texting me and said, "Look, Justin Hagler is the fire department chaplain. That's not accurate. You know that Cypress." So
So it is, let's be clear, it is, now we have a counter to that, that it is not accurate that the Bossier City Fire Department chaplain, who happens to be John Freem, if that's even accurate, he did not get a brand new Tahoe out of
So
the
you know
fire
what?
department budget.
You know what? I want to challenge the fire chief and the police chief to both come on the show and let's talk about some expenditures and
Yeah,
policies. Let's talk about some of
let's
that.
have a battle of the Tahoes. Who gets the most?
Do y'all think that the mayor of Bossier City would allow those department heads to come on and talk about some of those expenditures?
Hmm.
I'm thinking
So,
not.
somehow methinks no to that. All right, and to the person that emailed that, send us proof, because apparently you're watching the show. Send us proof. Send us documentation. Pictures,
Yep.
something. Anyway. All right, so now that we have literally beat a dead horse or horsepower or Tahoes, we got to get to these term limits. I mean, we're what are we? Let's see. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the show. We got to get to the term limits.
Well, let's rock on with it because yeah, I'm wondering, does everybody think we need term limits? What do
Yeah.
y'all think? Y'all think we need term limits in Bossier City? Do you think we need term limits in the police jury? What about Congress? What about the state government? We already have term limits for your legislators and your governor. I mean, what about all your other elected offices? Do y'all favor term limits or not? Are you opposed to them?
Yeah, let us know. I mean, because there's an argument to be made for and against, oddly enough, term limits. And, I generally am in support of term limits, of course, but there is an argument to be made against the term limits. It's a little valid. I mean, I don't agree with it, but it's a little valid. But yeah, like you said, let us know in the comments real quick what you think. Where should term limits start? How long or, should general term limits be? And we're talking city councilmen, police jurors, Cypress district bureaucrats, I guess, local congressmen, federal congressmen, all that. What should the limits be? And do you agree with them or not? So
Well,
the reason we're asking this is because last night something actually happened at the PEC meeting. The PEC might have just become a little bit or breathed a little bit of relevancy back into their life, or a little bit of life back into their relevancy.
yeah, and I happen to know a little bit about that.
Yes.
and maybe a little is uh, be, being modest. Um, so if you are a supporter of term limits and you think that that is an appropriate thing to call for, this is the show for you. Um, Look, Rex, we always talk about that we're going to, I mean, this is a live show. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking to people. We put it out there. We can't take it back. Anything we
Right.
say, we're
Yeah,
stuck
it's
with
out
it. We
there.
take it back. We live in the open. That's not that easy for a lot of people.
Right.
And a lot of people resent that.
Yes, they do.
You know, politicians, a lot of them, they run for office, they make commitments, they promise to people that they're going to do this or they're going to do that. Case in point, Tommy Chandler. He ran for the mayor of City of Bossier. And while he was the mayor of City of Bossier, Rex, let's take a walk down memory lane. The previous Republican Parish Executive Committee, who was the vice chairman of that?
Who was or who is?
Who was, prior to the new Parish Executive Committee taking office.
Well, let's see. Tommy Chandler was temporarily, but then he finally, after we kicked and screamed a little bit, removed himself.
Right. Well, the point was that I was the former vice
Oh,
chairman
that
of the
is
Bossier
correct.
Parish Republican Executive Committee.
Yep, moving on
And
back.
all of a sudden, a lot of us, and me included, there's a lot of people that sought to get rid of a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had someone else that sought to be the next vice chairman, which was Tommy Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
And as you recall, during that election against Low Walker, there was a campaign, uh, you know, thing that was put out there that was, uh, we need term limits. Without
Right.
term limits breeds corruption or
Yeah.
something to that effect. We need new blood.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah, we showed that. As a matter of fact, I played the clip of Low Walker explaining why in his view, he had lost on campaign night, on election night. He attributed it to the discussion about term limits. So, I mean, it's not just that Tommy Chandler put it out on his Facebook page and campaigned on it. It's that Low Walker thought that was one of the main reasons he lost.
And so I'm just wondering, maybe I missed it. Has there been a council meeting that commitment of term limits and a charter commission has taken place? Has that happened? Did I miss
Well,
it?
well, I would argue, has that discussion even taken place at all? I don't remember. I don't remember. So correct me if I'm wrong. Those of you that have watched the meetings and all that, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the discussion coming up at all. At least since Tommy Chandler's been elected mayor, and since we've gotten our new city councilman in.
No, there hadn't. Well, so I put in actually someone sent it to me. I'm amazed. Thank you to whoever just sent that to me. But they had it sitting right there, ready to go. But they've got Tommy Chandler's Facebook post, February the 27th, 2021. I already put it in the files there for you to pop up there.
I'll get it ready.
Yeah. So the Republican Parish Executive Committee has been just trudging along and really up to this point hadn't really done a whole lot. It was obvious to me, and I had some considerable conversations with some other folks, and I want to give some of those people credit. One of them is actually in the comments right now, the Colonel, that we've seen step up to the mic at several city council meetings. David Crockett had some conversations and developed a strategy on how to proceed. And one of those is that utilizing the Republican Parish Executive Committee, who should be in support of term limits, uh, we proceed to try to get a referendum on the ballot by way of what the Bossier City Charter affords citizens or electors of Bossier to do in getting a referendum on a term limit thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, I'm tired.
You've been saying a lot. So I just shared the other one hadn't posted through the folder yet. So I just shared the screenshot of Tommy Chandler's Facebook page that we had shared a couple of shows back. I think on show 137, so a couple of weeks ago. I just shared that one back out, which is essentially the same one that we appreciate you being texted.
Yeah. So I want to say, like, since yesterday's meeting, and it went late yesterday evening, and then all day today, I had an early. I am I am tired. I'm really tired. And again, I failed in getting a lot of notes prepared for this meeting because yesterday's late meeting yesterday evening, and then into today, it takes its toll on you. But so the Republican Parish Executive Committee met, and I put forward. We talked about it in our previous show. I put forward a motion to discuss or to discuss the issue of term limits for the city council and the police jury.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that meeting, I had been working alongside and with David Crockett in formulating a strategy. Much credit to him uh, on, kind of moving forward with this thing. So we put forward a motion to, have term limits and
Mm-hmm.
seek to have a referendum utilizing the Republican Parish Executive Committee, being the ones to organize that. And I wouldn't just point out that we used the party to do it. You got to understand, the party has been in support of term limits. The party has advocated for it. In fact, in the party platform, which in 2016 I was a part of the platform committee. I think that was in Ohio, Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's articulated in there. And we had this meeting. There
Right.
was a lot of debate, and I think that we have the recording, and maybe we should go to there
Okay.
and
That's
go through this because there's a lot of good points in that recording of the meeting
all right.
that folks need to hear. I mean, look, I didn't have my normal Bossier Watch show face on. I was serving in my capacity as an at-large representative for everyone in Bossier Parish, um, or not everyone, every Republican in Bossier Parish, and I was advocating for what I believe all of you that are Republicans, what you believe. You believe that we should have limited government. You believe that we should have, uh, you know, conservatism and low taxes, freedom. That's what I'm advocating for. And now David Crockett, he presented a case that was amazing. He presented a case that the justification is that you have elected officials that are going too far. And he broke it down to a monetary number, and it reflected to the debt in Bossier City. And in comparison to the rest of the state, he made a good case. Um, take over for here so I
Okay.
can get
So
Restream up.
yeah. All right. So I've got replay showing, and we have audio from that meeting. And so I'll let you go ahead and actually, I'm going to start. I guess let me start a live review. If you want to click, and it should work, we'll find out here in a second. But if you want to click to the timestamps or not, but I think the general discussion was getting the weight of the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, and thus, as the Bossier Parish side, facing side of the Republican Party itself, behind term limits, to, kind of push this discussion along that everybody wants to campaign and run on, but then nobody wants to discuss it. I mean, that's the way I see this.
Correct. I'm on point now. It took me a second to get my restream up. So yeah, that is exactly right, Rex. Politicians campaign that, hey, we're for this, we're against that, we're for this, hey, we're all these things, and then when it comes down to it, you know what? What do? They don't do anything of what they said. Well, you know what? It's time for accountability. It's time for action. And if the people who made those promises to you, the elected officials that said they were going to do that, are not going to do it, you know what? It falls to us, the citizens, other people, to affect those changes and make them happen. And therefore, you know, at this meeting, we use the Republican Party, to try to affect and begin those changes. And at the 2518 mark, um, there were some really good comments. And if you want to go ahead and play that
Okay.
part, I don't know how we'll test out how loud the audio will be. You may have to turn it up, and we'll
Yeah,
go ahead and go there.
Let's see.
Force them in these other forums to have to answer whether
Tell me
they
when to
support
stop.
or not support term limits. We have one Republican in the council that is driving most of the debt limit issues, or the debt issues that we have in Bossier City. Let's force him to answer whether he supports term limits.
I didn't think he was a council member. Is he a king? Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe he could be a queen.
Let's stop it right there. That's perfect.
Now, you picked up on that.
Yes.
He's not a council member, he's a king. And that was Colonel David Crockett, that was pointing out that you had one person that was driving the debt in Bossier City. And he's right. I mean, we've heard King David articulate that, he's a CPA, and his experience and all that planning, they've laid out a good plan. Well, that good plan, puts us at the higher, or the highest percentile of debt per person in the Bossier City, per taxpayer.
I mean, it's pretty simple. Every time they mention using that bond money, or you hear them mention the funds from the bond source or bonds initiative, that money has to be paid back at interest. It's that simple.
Yeah. So a lot of people may not, and we may be jumping ahead, but to set the rules so that or set the ground, for what took place, I made a motion that the Republican Parish Executive Committee form a committee to seek term limits for Bossier City by, the rules that are dictated, or the rules and procedure that is dictated in the city charter, to amend the qualifications for city council and mayor of Bossier City. And that was articulated in there. And then also to call upon the legislators in our district in Bossier to bring, a term limits bill this session, to limit your police jurymen to 3 terms of 4 years each, being a total of 12 years. And in addition, that motion called upon the police jurors as a body to vote in favor or against, supporting term limits for themselves. And that's what this was about, because none of them are going to do it on their own. They're not. Tommy Chandler promised you in a campaign that he was going to do it, and he's not going to do it. He's not. He promised he was going to call for a charter commission. He's not going to do it. He's making excuses. It's not going to happen. So, as Republicans, we supposedly support this, and are we Republicans or are we not? Or what are we about? Are we about limited government?
Well, look, David Womack brings up a point, and somebody asked me to address the other side of the coin, to term limits, and so I'm going to put David's comment up here. So I want to pause for a second and play devil's advocate. So David Womack says, the other side is there are always new people in with less experience. And that's always the other argument. Oh, well, you have to be in government for so long before you can get anything accomplished because it's, bureaucracy and quagmire and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, look, a good example, and I don't want to go off on the federal side too much, is our sitting president, your president, Joe Biden. I mean, he's literally been nothing but a public servant all his life. And that's part of the problem.
Well, here's the thing, and to my good friend David, and to everyone that would take the position that maybe we don't need to exclude that experience. Maybe we would be making a mistake to cancel out that experience. I would ask you, how has term limits worked out for us in Washington, D.C.? And I'm going to make this argument again later. Have we as a country progressed with our debt? Have we progressed with our policy? I mean, how are we progressing? Are we better or are we worse off with term limits nationally? Obviously, we don't have term limits nationally. Our debt has increased exponentially. We have unelected bureaucrats making rules and policies. 90% of all the rules and policies and the debt that is driven by unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and we don't have term limits. The argument, and it's made, I've got a ton of notes here, Rex, and I hate to be jumping ahead. We should be covering this and we should be playing what's in this recording because it's pure gold.
Well, that was going to be my next question was, what was the rest of the discussion among the Republican PAC members about this? I see the next timestamp. We want to jump to that.
Let's jump to it and let's go.
Hear from the infamous Doug Rimmer.
Let's play it.
All right, so let me jump us up and let me hit play. So this is Doug Rimmer.
More familiar with it. The police juries, I don't know of any that are term limited. There's so much with that. I think we've had 2 state presidents, and there's a lot of things that affect us through the legislature. In fact, the police juries, we operate under laws set by the legislature to a high degree, and a lot of funding requests and things like that are with them. But we've had 2 presidents from Bossier in the last 4 years. In fact, the current president is from Bossier. Term limits, he wouldn't have that.
All right, so let's stop right there. So he mentions that we've had 2 presidents in the last 4 years.
Now, if you'd have continued playing, you would have heard me ask, okay, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Presidents of what? Right. What he's talking about is the Police Jury Association. That's what he was talking about. Now,
it's a private organization of public officials.
That's exactly right. He's worried about whether or not they get a table at the front of their annual event or at the back of their annual event. That's my take on it.
Well, I'll be nice. Who gives a rat's rear end about that?
I'm just saying.
That's that old red herring. Throw it out there and let it flop around to grab somebody else's attention. Doug,
let's wait a minute. We're going to come back to that because one of your PEC members that's been on the show asked a really good question in regards to that and forced the issue. I got a hat tip to my fellow committee members on the Republican Parish Executive Committee, and y'all should be proud of them because they did an amazing job. They held the line on limited government and conservatism. They really did a good job. So we're going to keep moving on, but Doug Rimmer continued to articulate his reasons at the 27-21 mark as to why we didn't need term limits for the police jury.
Oh, this looks interesting. All right, ready? Here we go.
I've heard about it is we've learned to be more concerned about the deep state, about bureaucrats. Yeah. And it puts a lot more power. There's pros and cons to everything. It puts a lot more power in the hands of the staff, the bureaucrats that aren't elected, that don't answer to the people.
Well, what's the longest serving police juror and how many years have they served?
It's interesting. The longest serving police juror in the state is here in Boulder, and it is Jerome Darby, the longest serving police juror you've got.
How many years?
30-something years.
What?
I thought it was almost 40.
It's getting up there. It's 30-something right now, 36.
Okay, you can stop.
All right. Let's stop right there for just a moment. Now, first of all, let's take this in chunks. What the hell was he talking about the deep state in Bossier Parish?
Well, if you put term limits in there, you enable the deep state. Did you know that?
No, apparently that's news to me.
Well, I'm just wondering how term limits affected the deep state in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that like where the term originated from? I mean, here it's technically known as the Good Old Boys Network, not the deep state. So,
well,
not to correct you, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking maybe, our terminology and his terminology are talking about the same thing, but we're just using different terminology. And he's talking about the deep state. We're talking about the God network. I think they're the same thing, but he's saying term limits wouldn't eliminate that. It would enable that.
How in the hell do you get that logic unless you're a member of the Good Old Boys Network and using reverse logic?
I'm just telling you. So,
all right.
But did you hear the longest serving police juror in the state of Louisiana is in Bossier Parish?
Imagine that. And it's one of the Darby guys. I'm not going to say the name.
One of the Darby guys, and it's over 30 years. I asked I thought it was almost 40, and they said, well, it's 30 something.
Yeah, round it. It's a rounding error, so.
Yeah, so we're somewhere between 30 and 40 years. Now, I'm just wondering, how many of y'all think that someone being a public servant should be in it for 30 to 40 years? How many of you think that's
crazy?
That's normal. That's not a problem. I mean, 30 to 40 years. I mean, if you don't allow people to have 30 to 40 years, you risk having the deep state, Rex.
Of course, the flip side to that is, has anybody else run against him in those 30 to 40 years? And I'm just being a little rhetorical about it because I don't know. I have not checked the past election histories before we, got on the show tonight. But,
well, I would say so the debate went on. Let's jump to the 32, 34 mark. And Mike Collier makes some really good arguments. I mean, we're having a debate here. There's pros and cons going back and forth. But let's listen to what Mike Collier had to say.
Okay.
Bossier City needs to evolve. This budget and the amount of debt that we have, there are a lot of issues that we need to be focusing on.
Colonel, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
The term limits coming to Bossier City is because, I think, we have a current weak mayor and a very strong King David. If we didn't have those two sitting there, it might not be such an urge. Secondly, when you go into term limits, without question, you're giving up your experience. You start over. And the state legislature has those problems because every 12 years, every third class is brand new and they got to go find a lunchroom, etc. We know that. Your chairmanships are then disrupted. You end up putting up chairmen that are not ready. The experience is not there. Third, you're going to have to stagger your elections. You can't, it's going to have to be a process over time to do that. And the only argument, in my mind, that's valid for term limits is the corruption deal. People, not Nancy Pelosi, are there forever, does whatever the hell she wants. But, and that's what's happening in Bossier City. That's a very, very strong argument.
Well, wisdom from Mike.
Wisdom indeed. Wisdom indeed. So, I would say let's jump to the next mark. The the 3519 mark and let's just let it play.
All right, here we go.
Here in Bossier City. You
And I
would be
would-
better off paying a city engineer more than you pay the mayor because you get a lot of payback from that. You get good contracts.
And I would contend, and I'm sure Doug will take issue with this, but I would contend that you have problems with the police jury as well. For example, the parish administrator that was appointed not living in the parish. You know, I think that is a result of people being in office too long.
It's typically cronyism. When you talk about the two things that are the most, that lead to corruption more than anything, it's cronyism and nepotism.
And
we had to fight that off in Bossier City.
And one more on a personal note, a unelected bureaucracy with taxing authority, and there were pleadings by citizens to the police jury to take action on the Cypress district, and they didn't really do anything.
And that's what happens when people get in power and they stay in power and they know the way.
Okay,
You
you
said
stop
something
there.
about we being at a disadvantage.
Okay. So those very good points.
So, you know, as we covered in a previous show, and, you know, I think Jeff Sadow wrote an article. I think there was a lot of people, even John Settle reported on, you know, the police jury appointing a parish administrator that by law, you know, is required to live within, you know, the parish, and he didn't meet the standard to be the parish administrator. But I would point out something even more, Rex. Does anyone watching the show, do y'all recall the police jury? You know, Juliana Parks, did you see it on her page? Did you see anywhere where they advertised for the parish administrator position? Did anybody get an opportunity? Did you get an opportunity to put your application in for that?
No, and I looked and I didn't see it. Now, you know, somebody may show a screenshot or whatever and prove us wrong, but I don't remember. As a matter of fact, I remember the discussion among the police jury as kind of being a joke that, you know, he's pretty much the shoe-in for the job while violating the law. Where you at, Patrick Jackson?
While violating the law. Well, did they know or did they not know? I mean,
what's that old saying about ignorance is no excuse?
Well, that's right, but that only applies to you and me. That doesn't apply to, you know, people in an elected office or with these government jobs that are supposed to be, you know, swear an oath to the Constitution to uphold right and wrong and the law.
And follow the laws of the state and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Now, our good friend Robert Wright asks a really great question. Now, remember us talking about, you know, the Police Jury Association earlier, Doug, remember? Robert Wright asks a question in regards to that at the 3618 mark.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Doug, you said something about we being at a disadvantage of getting officers at the state police jury level. What benefit is it that we have officers at the police jury? I'm curious. I don't really know. What benefits do we get if we do have officers at the state police jury level?
It's there's so much. Getting answers to that, I could probably spend an hour or so going.
Got one good one?
There are a number of issues that we are pushing. Some have to do with funding, unfair funding for parishes. Everybody that we are taking the lead has to do with severance tax revenues. That's just one.
And that group has the leadership of it. Okay.
Right. And there's a
thank you.
There's a
My good old friend Doug the Taxman Rimmer, following the mantra to dazzle them with brilliance or baffle them with bullshit. I'd say he chose the latter.
Well, he didn't have a really good answer, but nonetheless, his answer was about, you know, a disparity in us getting tax revenues. And specifically, there being a disparity about severance taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That was the point he was making, that being or having leadership or members appointed to, I guess, the leadership of the Police Jury Association, he's more concerned about them having a seat at the table in the Police Jury Association than he is about, you know, having good government here in Bossier
Yeah, I
parish.
mean, look, the legislature sets that, not the Police Jury Association. So, is there a lobbying group that the Police Jury Association has? Is that what he's
Well,
advocating? Is that it's
well,
better
wait a
for us
minute.
to?
Now you remember when the Cypress District thing, you had Dodie Horton try to fix a problem that she identified because constituents were calling on her that, hey, we've got a problem with the Cypress District.
Mhm.
We need to try to fix this. She tried to do something about it. And what did the police jury do? The police jury, including Doug Rimmer, all went and anteed up for a lobbyist to
Yeah,
fight Dodie Horton trying to fix a problem. But
right. They made
you're
it
going to
difficult to fix
now
the problem.
now I didn't let that go. I called that issue out and Doug Rimmer had to address it. And he had some pretty interesting comments that I think our viewers are going to find amazing. But
Mm.
before we get to there, well, actually, no, we're right there, 37:57. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and play it. Let's see what he had to say.
Okay.
Mentioned the administrator who does, we all knew he owned property. We didn't know where his, that he wasn't registered to vote. We didn't.
Did you hear that regarding
Uh,
the administrator? He
yeah.
knew they knew that he owned property, but they didn't know that he wasn't a registered voter in the parish. So they literally, you had
Wow.
20 to 40 year, seasoned police jurymen that aren't, bound by term limits
An
make a
attorney who
decision,
is a sitting assistant district attorney. So don't
decide
forget him.
that a person meets the qualifications even though it's not in compliance with state law. And Rimmer cites state law that, look, we need term limits because you need to be experienced, because you need to be knowledgeable of state law, but yet they make appointments that are not in compliance with state law.
I mean, that's not hypocritical. That's not ignorant. That's just pure stupidity and being a moron.
Is it being a moron, or is it that you're trying to deceive the public?
Well,
I
it's
don't
just,
know.
it's the Good Old Boys Network, and this is the guy that we have decided and anointed is
Well,
going to fulfill the position, and that's that.
well, let's wait a minute and let's let him finish what he was saying in regards to the administrator and the Cypress District. Here we go.
Okay, hit him.
A lot of times you check things, people say they have a college degree and they don't. You check and you find out.
Yeah, we had that in the Republican Party this year.
We've seen that at the national level, right? But just saying that has since been corrected. Saying that
It's since been corrected.
those things do come up.
Where's his homestead
I would say this,
exemption?
that there wasn't any cronyism involved.
Now, he says, I asked, you heard me just right there. I asked, well, where is his homestead exemption? Because as Jeff Sadow in his report, accurately points out that, your homestead exemption declares where your voter registration should be.
Mm-hmm.
And to claim your voter registration somewhere else, I mean, we're going to have to get with Stephanie Agee on this.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying, well, Doug Rimmer didn't acknowledge my question, and he didn't answer my question of where his homestead exemption was. He didn't
Imagine
acknowledge
that.
that. But he said he had corrected that, talking about the parish administrator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not quite.
So let's keep going. Here we go.
And it has nothing, it's not the kind of thing that term limits will fix. You can see things that come up and you have to address them. This situation that's been ongoing, going on our side with the situation with the Cypress Black Bayou, which is atrocious. I know y'all been to meetings there, I've been to meetings there, and it's just, we're expecting that to be fixed this year.
All right, wait a minute. Pause it for a second. Did he just say, did I hear him say he did the meetings there? Is that what he said?
He said, we've all been to meetings. I've been there. He said, and the situation with the Cypress district is just atrocious. We know how bad it is.
Now, in fairness to Doug, maybe he's been to some Cypress meetings in the last year because I have not. But in all the previous meetings that I attended and published the videos of, that moron wasn't there one time. So I just want to point that out.
He was not there. And when people came to the police jury meeting to do voice opinions, and they didn't have to come to the police jury meeting. In fact, at the PEC meeting, Rex, I raised the issue of the Cypress district, and Doug Rimmer and Juliana Parks both objected to addressing or doing anything in regards to the Cypress district. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. So
this is an ongoing debacle and involving, in some instances, Doug Rimmer directly too.
But now he wants to say that, oh, it's an ongoing problem, and or we suddenly realize that there's a problem out there. Y'all want to know what I mean, look, this is what my idea. You know what I think? Because he said, or he's going to say, we haven't played it yet, but he's going to say, we think it's going to solve itself this summer. He said that last year. I can play the video.
Yeah.
You know what he's counting on, Rex? To solve the problem? That
Somebody-
Robert Berry
retiring.
is just going to retire after he's done use the Cypress district for his self-interest enough. And Robert Berry, if you're watching, you've made the threat out there, about people saying something, and we're talking with attorney. You've said we're talking with attorneys about what we can do. Sue us. Go ahead, sue us, challenge us. Let's go to court on that. Let's have discovery. I dare you.
And you're welcome to come on the show. Let's have.
You're welcome to come on the show. And the Cypress District Committee, y'all are welcome as well too. And if you want to, as a body, sue us, I let's do it. Let's have discovery and let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Let's
go
see
with
where that discovery takes us all. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see how far it goes, and let's subpoena all the witnesses. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm dying to see that. It'd be enjoyable.
My blood pressure is rising. Okay.
Yeah, let's calm down a little bit. Let's turn it down a little bit. Anyway, so Robert Wright again jumps up, and Robert Wright, I'm going to jump ahead, makes a really good point as well. So let's hear Robert Wright.
I am ideologically against term limits. And the reason why is I don't want any government to tell me who I can vote for, and for other reasons here, as Mike said. But somebody that's ideologically against it recognizes that we cannot continue to do the same thing and get different results. So hang on a second. I think somebody that is ideologically against it but is for it now, I'll let this speak for itself.
To not lose your experience, can't you increase it from 3 to whatever? Does it have to be?
Can I say something about that? I met with the mayor right after he was elected. And I said, Tommy, what's your vision? What's your strategic plan? What do you want to do for the city? He didn't know. We need to elect people. If I had ever gone into my commanding officer and said, sir, in 5 years I'll be able to change this squadron. You want to know which door I'd be going out of after that? I mean, I would have a boot in my butt. But
let me address Robert Wright's comments first. And I appreciate his comments, and he and I have had this discussion, one-on-one too, as well. How can you be against something and then turn around and be for it? I mean, that sounds suspiciously like some politicians in Washington, D.C. that we don't know. I mean, you can't be fundamentally for it, but yet you realize the flaws in it, and so now you're against it. I mean,
okay, now wait a minute.
You're either for it or against it.
I got to argue with you a little bit, and I got to disagree. Right. So are you telling me that your mind is set and you can't be changed? Okay, so I can pose a question to you.
I agree 100% with that. That's
Do
what I'm
you
saying.
think-
He needs to declare a side.
Do you think the Pfizer vaccines are all completely safe now, and that everybody should go get them?
No, and I didn't think it then either.
I
When
love
did
you, Rick.
when did you ever hear me say that the Pfizer vaccines are completely
I'm
safe and
just,
everybody should go get them?
I'm just saying. I ain't heard you saying that, but I'm just saying that
Yeah, blah blah, yeah, blah blah.
I,
You
I
you
don't
tried,
know.
you tried. Good attempt. But I challenge you to go back and find where I ever said
I
the
admit
Pfizer
I
vaccines are
admit
completely safe and everybody should do it. I never
I
said that.
admit I can't, but here's the thing. I mean, people can, have the revelation to change. They can have the
I
knowledge to change.
agree with you
I
100% on that statement, and that's my point. He needs to declare a side. He's either
well,
for them
I
or he's
think
against them.
he
Quit
said
waffling.
that. He said that. He said, given the case, and even Mike Collier, when we had this vote, I mean, look, you don't call a motion and you
Right.
don't move to do things unless you kind of know the vote count and where people ideologically stand on things and whether you can be successful or not.
Right.
Mike Collier, I got to tell you, I had a question. Mike Collier listened to the debate, and after hearing the debate, I mean, he was moved away from his ideological position of being against term limits because he's right. And I even acknowledge in this meeting that you suffer a loss losing experience with elected officials. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too.
There's merit to that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the current situation that we're in with both the police jury and Bossier City government, the lack of term limits, and let me use Tommy Chandler's words, a lack of fresh blood and new leadership. I mean,
Might lead to
we've
corruption.
we've went sideways. Yeah, in
Yeah.
his words, might lead to corruption.
Yeah. So the negative aspects of not having term limits on balance far outweigh the positive aspects. So on balance, term limits are a necessary thing. In the vast majority, if not, in my opinion, all cases. So that's my point is, yeah, I appreciate Robert's point. I certainly appreciate Mike's wisdom in it. But declare a side. Either for them or against them.
Someone just sent to me right now. Currently, they went and I think that they determined that Joe E. Ford Jr.'s homestead exemption is filed at 9992 Grassy Knoll Drive in Shreveport, Louisiana. That
It
is
just couldn't
not
be a
in
better address, Grassy Knoll Drive. I mean,
that's not in Bossier Parish. Now, Doug Rimmer goes on to say, and wait a minute, let's let Rimmer say it for himself. So 5223, here we go.
I'd like
And 3 terms is good.
I'd like to say one other thing, is I think we got a problem with the city government here, and we're spilling it over. There are some issues that, with the, knowing what the situation is in parish government, we've got we lost our longer term, who had been a police juror, a longer term administrator, Bill Altimus retired. And now we have another one looking to retire within the next year or so. And again, you start, there's a amount of institutional knowledge. We had 2 longer term police jurors didn't run for re-election. When I was elected, there were 2 open seats. Again, we happen to coincidentally have 1 black representative who's been consistently represented from a barely majority white district, but he's been generally unopposed.
He rambles forever. I mean, we're going to waste a lot of time. We got to move through this, whatever. But he's talking about retirement of police jury members, and I end up asking the question. And I'm going to jump ahead. Here it is.
He's been generally unopposed. I don't know when the last time he had any opposition. But we've seen that sometimes
Doug, you said retire. Did you just mean retire from the police jury? Getting a retire from the police jury? You mean getting a retirement?
No, I said the administrator retired, and he did get a retirement.
But he
No,
was
but
he
I
was
say-
a police juror.
Yeah,
though.
build
The
off.
police jurors retired from public life. No, they didn't retire and get, police jurors don't get any retirement.
Right.
Now, I say that, this one you're talking about, Jerome Darby, they used to could. And I think we have two longer term that were before they cut off the retirement, that do get some retirement if they did, but,
So should
I'm
elected
confused slightly trying to listen to follow Rimmer's logic, but okay.
Well, exactly. But should elected officials be elected officials so long that retirement is an option? Is that what the intent of the founders? Is that
I
the
think
intent?
they would roll over in their graves, the vast majority of them, if they knew that this was going on. My argument would be a flat out no.
So I'm wondering, what do y'all think? The police jury representative on the Republican Parish Executive Committee, how do y'all think he felt about term limits? I'm wondering what you think. What does he think about it?
Yeah, that. Wow.
Well, let's hear. Let's see what he.
What we're doing is putting it in their hands. True or false?
True. Correct.
I'd like to offer an amendment, and I'd like to just to delete the part about the police jury and let us continue to talk and study and see what that would look like. Whether it was petition, as there's a number of we had the numbers for the city.
I almost fell out of my chair.
I mean,
Are we talking about self-serving and self-interested, or what?
I mean, look, that's fine if y'all want to, have term limits for the school board and the city. That's great, but just leave the police jury out of it. Just cut us out of it.
Hell?
We're no
I mean,
different. We're different. We don't need term limits.
That's as blatantly obvious as it gets right there. That is the epitome of what's wrong with not just the police jury and Doug Rimmer specifically. That's what's wrong with most politicians. Absolutely self-serving.
Well, let me point out something else. And Rex, you may not have even got this yet, but it jumped all out at me, and I said something. I didn't push it hard, but I said something. I just wanted to hear what everybody had to say. So listen to this. Y'all tell me what you think about this. Point of order.
Motion.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're on the police jury and you're making a motion to amend my motion.
Yeah.
Is that not a conflict?
No, not in this body. It's not. This is a Republican. We're trying to decide what our effects are going to do.
You're voting on your own interests, right?
Yeah, but I don't see a problem with that.
That's not it. My interest is good
I don't see a
government.
problem with that.
Well, if the rest of the body doesn't have an objection, I was just
I
going
mean,
to
we
point
got
it
to
out.
vote. I mean, there's
I mean, he could
all of us
voluntarily
sitting
do
here.
it, but if he doesn't, I mean, he doesn't. I mean, he has a voice.
Well,
for
He's for good government, though, Duke.
Well,
really
what do
is.
y'all
He
think?
said
What
he
do y'all
was.
think? If you're trying to prevent a body unaffiliated and seeking for limited government, and you're seeking to amend a motion to prevent that body from changing the rules of the body that you're serving on and the other one which you receive compensation for, which they do get some compensation for it. It ain't a lot,
Right.
but they
It
get
ain't, yeah.
something.
Right.
But aren't you trying to do something that affects something that you have an interest in?
Yeah, and let's be clear, the Bossier Republican Executive Committee, known as the PEC, does not have the legal authority to impose term limits, but it does have sway with the Republican Party and voters and the press and all that to help facilitate the passing of term limits, let's just say, to keep it simple.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe that he had no place weighing into the debate. It's certainly not making an amendment and certainly not even voting on it. But I defer. I mean, I disagreed with the rest of the group. I think the rest of the group was being courteous in allowing him to vote on it. But I think it's a conflict of interest, and I would defer to you guys. Do you think that an elected official should be able to vote on, whether or not they're bound by a term limit or not? I
Ruth
there
said
may
it
be
best. Typical Gob response.
Maybe so. Maybe so. So I got under, Mr. Rimmer's skin a little bit and got his dander up. And looks like Paul Johnson has a pretty good comment.
Yeah. He's saying that the police jury probably needs term limits more than any other governmental body. What we really need are closed primaries for statewide, federal, and state elected offices.
Well, I made a comment that kind of got, Mr. Rimmer all riled up, and I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
And that's it. Y'all are going to fight it. I mean, so.
Oh, you're not that you know we're going to hire a lobbyist that's going to fight and all that stuff.
Well, you talked about the law, following the laws at the start, and you haven't done that as a police juror.
If
So
you're trying to fix a problem you don't have, that's
Well, the only thing I'll say there, Doug, is and I don't have a problem at all with the police jury. I've been on the school board. I've been involved with the city. I don't really know I don't get in y'all's business. But what the people were saying in my area, they're saying we want term limits, and I don't think it's because of. I just think on a national level and a local level, they want term limits, and they want to be able to and obviously we'll find that out if we get enough signatures. We might not get enough signatures for that. If we don't, then it's a moot point.
So
but we have a motion
to amend to strike.
Okay, so you heard it.
Yeah, our former amigo Shane Cheatham weighing in that, hey, he's going by what the people in South Bossier in his area said they wanted, and they said they wanted term limits.
Now, the motion called also, and the PEC will call upon the police jury to take a vote of whether they support or oppose term limits. And the inference that I made was that the police jury is just going to hire a lobbyist to seek to kill any legislation that our legislators would bring to enact term limits on the police jurors of Bossier Parish. And they're going to hire a lobbyist. They already have a lobbyist, on retainer, but just like they did with the Cypress district, the police jury jumped in there, and Doug Rimmer can say what he wants to. He acknowledges that there's a problem with the Cypress district, but yet when Dodie Horton tried to fix it, the police jury jumped up there and fought her on it. They joined in there. So I said, well, look, you're going to fight it when it comes to policing you or you having, accountability. You're going to jump there. He jumped out there and laughed. He says, "Oh, we're going to do that." Well, it only stands to reason you're going to do that.
If past history is any indicator, yeah. Well, all right. So in all this, how did the motion end up? Did y'all have a vote on it? What happened?
Well, so we had a vote, and the motion passed by a vote of 11-3. Doug Rimmer and Danny Perdue voted against it. It would be up to Danny Perdue to defend his rationale for voting against it. I think he probably would say, "Oh, I wanted more time to deliberate on it," which in my opinion was an attempt to delay and prevent it from happening. I would argue he would say that I don't know this is just my speculation, that, he supports term limits, but that he wanted to delay it for more time to procrastinate on whether we should have 3 terms, 4 terms, or 2 terms. Well, the bottom line is either you support term limits or you don't. And this was pretty simple. We went with a 3-term recommendation because that's kind of the average of everyone. And he didn't want to have no part of that. He didn't support having, the part of this vote was as well to put people on record. Either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
He chose to not support it.
And you said
he wanted to delay it.
You said the vote was 11-3. Is that correct?
11-3. You know, truthfully, I don't know who the third person was. I know that Rimmer and Danny Perdue voted against term limits for the
All right.
for the city of Bossier and the police jury.
And hence the press release that was sent out by the PEC. And as several people have commented, I think KTBS and some of the other mainstream news did some articles on it as well already. But here it is right here at the regular meeting on Monday the 16th. The Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee discussed and voted to approve the creation of a term limit committee to lead, organize, and solicit the signatures required to put term limits in place for the Bossier City Council, Bossier City Mayor, and the Bossier Parish Police Jury. And so basically, it's if Tommy won't do what he promised in his campaign, then, maybe the Republicans will do it for him. Okay, and we're getting dinged pretty good here. All right.
Dinged by.
Yeah. Okay. Who is Suzanne on the committee?
I think that would be Miss Suzanne Craig. Is
Okay.
the only Suzanne that's on the committee.
Okay. So that may have been the third person, and forgive
May
me, Suzanne, because I don't know.
May have been. I don't actually know who the third vote against term limits was, but you know, I mean, there was a healthy debate on the issue. You know, there was a little bit of planning on the 3 terms. There was no point in delaying and getting this ball rolling. Now, I saw someone's already messaged me, you know, look, I'm in H-Town, which means Halton for a lot of you Bossier City people. You may not know what H-Town is. That, hey, I support term limits. I want to get on board. I want to help.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I may be jumping ahead of you here, Rex, if you got another thought to finish.
No, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is look, we just had the meeting last night, and you know, the army of the Gob network, or as Doug Rimmer says, the deep state, is going to fight this with everything that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and
including lawyers paid by our taxpayer dollars.
That's right,
and lobbyists.
And your legislators. Now keep in mind, guys, you've got your legislative races and your governor race coming up here in the fall, and a lot of those candidates are going to be able to be on record as to whether or not they support this issue, whether or not they support or oppose term limits on the police jury and the city of Bossier. So we are going to have a committee meeting. The Republican Parish Executive Committee, by the vote of 11-3, voted to move forward with the motion that was made, which would be to form a committee to organize an effort, you know, in accordance with the charter of the city of Bossier City, to amend the charter to place term limits on the councilman and the mayor, as well as to gather signatures, you know, to ask our legislators of Bossier to introduce a bill, because to invoke term limits on your police jurors has to be an action by the legislature. So, you know, that the PEC would end up being seeking signatures from electors, which is registered voters of the parish, to sign that they want, you know, your legislators to bring a bill to place on the ballot a referendum to invoke term limits upon your, you know, police jury members. So you're going to get that opportunity. And if you're interested in volunteering or what have you, you can email me personally. This is separate and apart, Rex. I'm taking personal privilege here. This ain't got nothing to do with Bossier Watch. This is
well, you
Republican Parish.
acting as a parish executive committee member.
I am an at-large representative of the Republican Parish Executive Committee. I represent every Republican in the parish of Bossier. If you support term limits, you know, this is for you. You can email me and I can end up ultimately getting you the information of how to get involved in this and to get on board. I can tell you we haven't had our first committee meeting. This just happened yesterday. I am going to be the chairman of that committee, and we're going to have our first meeting this week. And I'm sure there's a lot of committee members that have already volunteered to be a part of this committee. We're going to get it rolling. And there's a lot of ideas, but what we're going to end up wanting is we're going to end up wanting a lot of volunteers, from Halton, from Benton, from Plain Dealing. And here's the thing. You may not be a Republican. You know what, Rex? That don't matter.
You're
This
right.
ain't this ain't a Republican only issue. This is a good government issue because
Right.
the polling reflects that 75, approximately 75% of all the electorate, you know, uh, Republican, Democrat, independent, all support term limits. So
Exactly correct. Good point.
don't think that because I'm on the Republican Parish Executive Committee that excludes you. What I'm saying is that by all means, everybody that supports term, this is about good government, limited government, and getting rid of the deep state, as Doug Rimmer says, and as we say, the Gob network. That's what it's about. So
All right.
email.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have an email address you want to
Not
share that they can email you directly? Do you want them to use the Bossier Watch Gmail account, or how do you want them to reach out to you?
I tell you what, we don't have one yet. Why don't let's just postpone that till next meeting. I mean, to next meeting, till the next show.
Right.
And maybe we'll have an email address established to where people can respond if they want to volunteer, if they want to sign up, and we'll have more information at that time to be able to present to everybody to push this thing out. Uh, Folks, I think regardless of your political affiliation, um, we all want good government. We all want good representation. I think we all are tired of the general rubber stamp, and taking all of us as voters for granted. And just, I think we all want to change. This is the opportunity for all of us to stand up and put our thumb on the scale and say to all of our elected representatives, you know, we the electorate, we're in control of this, not
Right.
you. Not because you're elected, that doesn't you are our servant. It's not the other way around.
Yeah, and look, I want to give credit to you for bringing this forward and to the Republican Executive Committee in Bossier because finally, I mean, been making fun of you guys now and I'm a former member, full disclosure, but been making fun of you guys for the last year or two as being kind of irrelevant. What the heck are y'all doing? This is a great way to start off 2023. So good job.
Well, thank you, but there were some other things that took place at the meeting, and we will wrap up this show with those three things. And I would be remiss if I didn't go through those as well too. Uh, the image 9881, and we'll go down through the next three there in the folder. The Paris Executive Committee voted to endorse Jeff Landry for governor.
Oh, hold on just a second. I'll get the correct screenshot pulled up and over here like this. Not quite that big. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And no surprise, it seems like Jeff's getting everybody's endorsements, and a lot of people are getting behind Jeff for governor. And I see that as a positive thing.
That's right. And look, I make no bones about it. Jeff has been a friend of mine from even when he ran for Congress the first time, even before he was AG. I have been a longtime supporter and on a personal note, a friend of Jeff Landry, and will continue to be. And you know, the bottom line is Jeff is the favorite in this race.
Yeah.
I think Jeff is going to be the Republican candidate in the runoff. With that said, I don't want to take away anything, and this was a little bit of a rub, at this meeting, because there's some other folks. The Treasury Secretary, who has been on our show, is a great guy,
Right.
and I got to tell you, I would have no problem whatsoever seeing him be the governor, and I think he would do a fine job. He's a great person, and you know, I,
Yeah,
I
I agree. It could go either way. I would be
uh,
happy with either one of them as the Republican nominee.
but the body made a motion to endorse Jeff Landry, and the body voted to endorse Jeff Landry. Um, you know, Rex, you may recall the Republican Parish Executive Committee ended up we developed a endorsement policy that would enable multiple candidates to end up receiving an endorsement, because here's the thing, it is plausible that you would have multiple Republican candidates that were qualified to be the governor, that they're good people. What says that you have to say that one
Sure.
person is better than the other when they're all good?
Right.
We had that in place, but when Tommy Chandler and, you know, Doug Rimmer came into power, they made a point to make sure that that was not a possibility anymore. Thanks, Richard Ray. So,
Hmm.
with that said, we only got one endorsement in here, and I got no problem with the endorsement. Jeff Landry's a great guy. So, there was that endorsement. We also
Mm-hmm.
made an endorsement in the lieutenant governor's race.
All right, so let me put that one up there.
So obviously, Billy Nungesser announced that he would not be running for governor, and that he would be running for, uh, you know, his seat that he's in. And I got to tell you, he's good at the seat that he's in.
Yes.
Now, there's always this negative thing out there. I mean, in which I'm still wondering whether or not he will commit to bungee jumping off of the Jimmy Davis Bridge with us
Exactly
or
my point.
not.
But this gives me a little more hope since he's going to run for lieutenant governor again.
I'm thinking that we're going to be able to have that discussion with him about the bungee jumping thing. I
Yeah.
I feel confident on it now, but the parish executive committee made the decision that, you know what, he's a good advocate for the state and in that position, and they chose to jump up there and endorse him. Now,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of deliberation about the fact that one former congressman from this district, John Fleming, was had already announced that he was going to run for lieutenant governor, but upon the announcement that Billy Nungesser was not going to run for governor and was going to run for his seat held, the former congressman John Fleming, I'm told, decided to, you know, not back out of that race and not run.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Billy Nungesser will probably be your lieutenant governor again.
Yeah. And so that's interesting. Now, wasn't there one other action that y'all decided to take? I mean, I kind of hate
Right.
to start wrapping the show up on a negative note, but
Well, it depends on your perception of negative. I mean, yes, it is kind of negative, but and again, I admittedly I had to have the hand in it. And
mm-hmm.
I have no problem, even if the senator that this action was, wants to talk to me. I still consider him a friend. He may not of me after this, but you know what, Rex, you and I always advocate. We don't care who it is, whatever. I mean, even if it's our wife, mother, brother, whatever, kid, we're gonna we're gonna call it out.
Right.
And I couldn't in this. I will say it like this: a constituent contacted me and said, look, um, you had in the past vote or called for a vote of censure of a Republican who endorsed and supported a Democrat in a governor's race, and
Right.
why have you not done it in this race? You are a hypocrite not to do it. And the race they're talking about is the race for the city, city of Shreveport, mayor of city of Shreveport.
Mm-hmm.
And in that race, State Senator Beryl Peacock endorsed, State Senator Greg Tarver, the Democrat, against, the Republican endorsed Tom Arsenault.
Right.
It was a valid point. And, there was a lot of debate on it. And look, it's an understanding kind of people think that Beryl Peacock's probably not going to run for anything again. And people deliberated. And it's like, why are we doing this? Because he's not going to run for anything. I mean, isn't this kind of just a poke in the eye, going out on the end or what have you? Well, maybe it is, maybe not. I mean, who knows? He may run for Congress.
Yeah.
What if Mike Johnson tries to jump off for something else? We know he dadgum thinks, he needs to be the president of the United States. I mean, there's no limit to what he will seek to get. So the opportunity may present itself. And if you're a Republican, should you be, supporting somebody who supports, ideological differences of the party? I mean, should there be accountability within the party? That was the discussions that was had. And so, again, a constituent brought it to my attention. They said to not bring it to the body was being hypocritical. I couldn't disagree with that. So I brought the motion, the body voted, and the vote was to censure Beryl Peacock for supporting the Democrat candidate against the endorsed Republican candidate. I would point out that Beryl Peacock did not cite, any reason, for not supporting the Republican candidate for mayor. I didn't hear it. There may have been one, and if anyone watching heard it, perhaps they could, shine some light on it, but I never heard it. And nobody else at our meeting presented anything to say that he had.
Well, I'd just like to close with this. Did Shane do these little press release graphics here?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh, well, next time, don't stretch and skew the logo. Use it in the correct proportions. It's actually stretched slightly along.
Did you create that logo?
Yes, sir, I did. I also did the Republican women's. Did you know that? Now,
I didn't know that.
Let me be clear. I didn't create the original Republican women's. I took their original logo and redrew it as a vector graphic so it would be nice and sharp and crisp and clear, and they'd have a nice logo that they could use. As a matter of fact, I did it at the request of Allie Feaster Smith, your favorite person. That was years ago.
Oh.
Years ago.
So you've been consorting with the enemy.
Years ago, let me be clear. A long time. That was like 2015 or 2016. I can't remember.
No, someone texted me and asked, was the vote of censure unanimous? No, it was not. I don't remember exactly who voted against. I can only tell you of one vote that was against, and that was Doug Rimmer that voted against. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Mr. Rimmer voting against things that he shouldn't be. I don't know. Anyway, his call, his decision. We just get the opportunity to make fun of him on Tuesday nights.
So I would ask to that person, to that constituent that asked that, was I a hypocrite or was I upstanding? Did I do my duty as a elected member of the Republican Party of Bossier Parish at large? Did I do what I was supposed to do? Because I work for y'all. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, All right. Anything else you want to discuss this fine evening? Now we're at 2.5 hours.
I will say, Rex, while our show is, everybody that's here, we appreciate you being here. It's a little light tonight on viewership. But what I would tell you is that we had a lot of information flow in today, Rex.
Yes.
In fact, I I am exhausted from the amount. I literally got no work, personal work done today from fielding information that was flowing in about things that were taking place happening in Bossier. I mean, we said it at the start of the show. What is it with Tuesdays? But
Yeah.
today you didn't get it as much, but I don't know why. For some reason, I'm a magnet to it, but it was just flowing in. And surprisingly, these are things that are going on in the parish I really didn't know were happening. And
Sounds
I
interesting
think,
again.
yeah, I think we're going to be delving off into some of those. I don't know how we can't delve off into them
Right.
in upcoming shows. And I mean, how do I not give it away here?
How do you not give the farm away without giving away the farm?
Yeah,
Well,
I haven't had enough
it's
time to digest it.
it's real simple. At 2.5 hours into the show, because it's 9:30 now, we start at 7 o'clock. We still have 45 people watching. I mean, for a 2.5 hour long form show, that's pretty darn good, especially when there wasn't or didn't seem to be a tremendous amount of information to talk about until literally the last minute today. So what that means is that we've got content coming up over the course of the next few weeks that folks, y'all need to make sure and invite your friends, tag your friends, let them know about the show that they need to watch, and we certainly want you to watch live and be able to comment on the show. But even if you don't watch live, or you have somebody that, they have something scheduled on Tuesday nights or something, get them to go ahead and watch the shows later on at their convenience. We leave them all posted on both YouTube and Facebook. And just consume the content that way and leave comments after the fact. We do monitor the comments. We don't always respond, but we do monitor them.
And if you want to be a part of the Public Information Request Army, that's what we're calling it. It's kind of the Public Information Request Army. We're going to put that in place, and we're going to start sending out. We've got a list of people that have volunteered to start sending these requests. The purpose of it is to crowdsource it. The more people that we get involved, the better. We've got a lot of people already. If you want to be a part of that, just email us and say, hey, I'm in. Just tell me what to do. We'll send you the information. And next show, I mean, hopefully on this term limit things, if you are a supporter of term limits and you want to see, good government in Bossier City and the police jury, and you want to help in that effort and volunteer, email, and or next show we will have information to be able to put out there to tell you what to do.
Yeah, you can send the emails to the bossierwatch at gmail.com if you want. You can send it to the bossierwatch at protonmail.com if you want. Remember, public information requests, by their very nature, are public information. So, it's not that we're trying to be anonymous here, but you can send an email to either address. We check both of them and let us know, and we'll reach back out to you.
Sounds like a plan. I think that covers it.
I think it does too. We want to thank everybody for watching. If you do have some information you want to share with us and you do want to stay anonymous, go create a free protonmail.com account. Send an email to bossierwatch at protonmail.com. Like I said, we do read all those. Sometimes they're good information, sometimes it's not. If you want to donate, we appreciate all the help the last couple of weeks. We've gotten a few little donations in. You can do that at bossierwatch.com or bossierwatch.org. Honestly, it doesn't matter. And I forgot to mention, but Facebook has got this deal where you can donate with stars or send with stars. We've had a few people do that. And, a few little pennies here and there helps provide us coffee money and all that. So we appreciate all the help. The show is not free. Does cost us money to produce it, and as well as lots of time. But we appreciate everybody. Even if you don't donate, you just donate your time to watch the show. We appreciate you.
Amen to that. Have a good night, Rex. Have a good night, people watching. We appreciate it. See you next week. We look forward to sharing more information. It's coming.
We're out of here.
Good night.